Rand.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to Give Me Rent. This is Noah.
This is Brandon.
Today, we're going to continue talking about Peacemaker. We are now 3 episodes into season 2, and a lot of things that we theorized to happen already happened. So we thought we would talk about what we've seen, kind of reflect on that, and then give our theories for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So we're 3 episodes in now, and this episode specifically, this week's episode, episode 3, there's a lot to talk about with that one specifically. So, what are your thoughts? After the episode.
All right. So first thing I want to just bring up because we said it in the last episode, Harcourt and Rick Flag Jr. were together. We said it was going to be in the alternate universe, but not only does it happen there, it happens in the main DCU. And I did not expect to ever see Rick Flag come back on screen besides a flashback, which has been happening recurringly. I like the idea of how she's grown with Peacemaker, and I wonder if that's what's holding her back in her relationship with him because she knows he killed him.
Yeah, it honestly does pose that question. If
It's
is
a lot.
it just that, or is it everything else? He's obviously not the most sane person.
Same thing with her. She's got a lot of baggage also, but I wonder if it really is that internal conflict because it seems like she likes him, and especially Adebayo points all these things out, but she doesn't want to commit, and I think it has to do with Flag, 100%.
Well, I don't know if any of the team on the main DC world know about her being with Flag. It seems like I think one thing I want to talk about that's very interesting is that Flag and Harcourt, they talk about Flag's other relationship, which
Yep.
was from a movie from almost 10 years ago at this point. They reference events from David Ayer's Suicide Squad.
And James Gunn said that wasn't. He said that wasn't canon, but I wonder if only the relationship.
Parts of it they have to be, I'd assume, because, that movie introduced Amanda Waller and Rick Flag and Harley Quinn, who are characters that have all met Peacemaker.
I just realized something. Completely just realized. So that movie's not canon, right? Enchantress technically is dead at the end of the Ayers movie, right? Isn't she dead?
I don't remember. Yeah,
I don't
honestly,
remember.
it's been
I'm
so
pretty
long
sure
since I've seen it.
I could be wrong, but if she is deceased in that universe, then there's no way she's alive when he's going to Corto Maltese.
Well, that's what I was wondering too. I think that scene also kind of says that yes, like some things, as it did happen, but very differently. So we're confirming that the relationship happened, which is a part of the 2016 Suicide Squad. We're not outright confirming that the events of that film did completely happen. Yeah. But I think this is very in line with what James has said in the past, is that, yes, he's going to pick and choose certain events and certain key things that have happened, that we've seen even. Some of the things did happen in his DCU. That doesn't mean his DCU isn't separate. It's completely a separate thing. He's he's acknowledging that very early on, and I kind of respect him for it. This is the way he's going to do it. You have to accept it because a lot of actors are playing the same people again. Yep. So that kind of clears up some confusion because he's saying, some of the things that they did still happen. I think that's very interesting.
And the other thing I believe James Gunn is going in this direction is he doesn't want to waste characters, right? Enchantress is a very slept-on villain. Very interesting. The mythical world with DC is some of the best fleshed out in all of comics. And I'll say the same thing as their heaven and hell entities and omnipotent beings. But Enchantress is very interesting. I think her having not a role with Peacemaker, but possibly in the future of DC, I think he wants to solidify her being there and her existence. And you could tell that doesn't line up Suicide Squad 1 with the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker because from my memory, I thought she died at the end. I've seen the movie once. It was awful.
Well, an interesting thing, about the Suicide Squad, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think that movie as well kind of did it similarly where you get that moment with like Rick Flag and Harley where they look at each other, they know each other.
Yeah.
We understand that like to some extent the 2016 film kind of happened. I'm going to assume probably, Joker probably was different. He wasn't there, all of that. But I think that...
I don't even think Killer Croc is going to be there, to be honest with
maybe you. Not. But I also do think this opens the door to possibly see Enchantress in this show, which is very interesting. Because another thing, bringing Rick Flag into this, and also they did it in the Suicide Squad, which was interesting. It's a big tonal shift for that character. Not, 2016 it didn't work. But it was obviously going you can tell, at least from the first trailer of it, it was supposed to be a very dark movie.
Yeah.
Parts of that got through, but obviously the movie was edited to all hell. It turned out to be a Deadpool copy, whatever the hell they wanted it to be. But that original idea there was that it was going to be a very dark film. And I think their relationship, the Enchantress Rick Flag stuff, would have been kind of dark. And it's interesting to just see him, cheating on her and not really caring about her. That's just straight up established immediately in this episode. I thought that was very interesting. But it also opens the door to bring her back, possibly in the end of the season. Maybe she's mad at Peacemaker. She did care for him, like obviously the good half of her. It's definitely possible. I just think it's very interesting that this episode straight up confirmed it wasn't like they were cheating. Like he wasn't with Harcourt like in a relationship. They were. I mean, he wanted to be. They'd established that, so that's very interesting. And I honestly where do you think they're going to take this? Because we have two things going on now. We have the other universe where we see Rick Flag kind of be a weird bumbling idiot, jealous of Chris, and we get to see him actually in a real relationship. And then we have the added fact in the regular timeline, he's obviously deceased, and now we know this. I think that's something interesting to play with. Do you think that we're going to have a lot of just Peacemaker being in that other world this season? We do see him going back at the end of this episode. So how do you think they're going to play it going forward?
You know what I think is going to happen? I think he's either going to go in the last couple episodes, but I think now at the end he's home. As that's happening, the van's pulling up with Argus. I think he's going to get forced out of his home in a moment of action, like how he did in season 1 when the police showed up with all that stuff where they wanted to interrogate him for the murder. And now I think he's going to be on the loose, especially now. It's very weird that we have Michael Rooker now back after playing Savant, which makes me think, obviously you could play two different characters, whatever it happens. But I know we're going to be following a lot of Peacemaker, Eagly, Judo Master's back. That's another big thing from season 1 because he worked for the Butterflies, which was even
now just working for Argus, which is interesting.
For Argus,
and how do you feel about how they're presenting Argus? Because obviously, they're a big, in DC just media itself, they're very.
I think they're just a
scattery organization that have a lot of power, and obviously that's been established with Amanda Waller and stuff. But with Peacemaker and the tone, they're definitely a little bit more comedic than we're used to seeing Argus being represented. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's the same thing as like the Justice League, right? You have the core 7, Batman, Martian Manhunter, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Jon Stewart, whoever else, whether it's Aquaman or whoever else is being shifted in, right? You have your very serious characters, your very serious superheroes, and then you have the extended part of the Justice League, and you get into your Booster Gold, your Plastic Man, your guys who aren't as serious, but they don't represent the league as a whole. I think this specific branch, because you look at Ric Flair Sr., very serious, and you have a couple people under him that aren't as serious. I think it just doesn't represent Argus as a whole, but I think it definitely shows the diversity in their personalities, and I think that is something very important.
Well, I think going forward with Argus too, they're going to have to try to find a balance here because we've had, just thinking about the Suicide Squad, when you brought Waller into that tone, and obviously she rolls her eyes and she gets annoyed at everyone doing these things, but she's still being brought into a more comedic setting. Mm-hmm. And I think James Gunn, he balances that well. But you're going to have to find a fine line here because when you're going back to, say, the next Superman movie or Supergirl, whenever we see these characters again, you're going to have to, bring the seriousness back. It's just jumbling that is very interesting because Rick Flag Sr., we barely saw him in Superman. Now he's brought into this. His storyline is very serious, but he's in a series that doesn't take itself fully seriously.
And Creature Commandos, too.
That's true. And that was obviously, not... I'd say Peacemaker goes to be a little bit more comedic. I'd say than Creature Commandos for sure.
Oh, for sure. But it was also just another role continuing his story. But I think we're gonna have a serious shift of tone. We're gonna have some lighthearted moments, but just like in Peacemaker, where it's all fun and games to start, but once it gets really serious, and I really want to talk about the action sequences in this. I mean, the CGI, everything, the gore, the blood. The prosthetics, everything was so much better than season 1. You could tell the budget shift and the change, obviously, of power with James Gunn.
Not that this show wasn't poorly budgeted before.
No, it wasn't. But if he had more money, those butterflies would have looked so much better. The death sequences still looked great. Don't get me wrong, but you could definitely tell the shift between season 1 and 2 already, and I'm very impressed.
So yeah, we got a crazy action sequence in this one on the other Earth, and you know, when I was watching it, I'm curious what you thought as well. You know, immediately he starts killing people, and I was thinking in my head, you know, when it started happening, I was like, is this going to be a situation where people aren't okay with this? Or, you know, and it wasn't. It played, I feel like the scene was supposed to play with you a little bit there, like to kind of trick you into thinking maybe people would have an issue with this. Also, the way that he kills people is pretty horrific. So that
it was
definitely
phenomenal
added to that feeling.
to see the creativity of the different deaths. I was very happy with because James Gunn doesn't disappoint. But one thing I noticed, and I'm hoping it's, you know, the world is not what it seems, like we predicted last episode. He was getting bothered by a lot. Like he was okay, like he got flashed, whatever he thought was funny, but beforehand, how the kid was acting bothered him. A couple other things were bothering him psychologically, and I feel like ultimately that this world is going to show. Let's say I think he's going to go through 2 episodes of getting chased by Argus, go back and see that that world wasn't what he thought it was. And
Well, I think, I agree.
I don't know what's going to happen after that, but I think it's going to look so perfect to him that in reality it's so flawed, and it's either. And like I said in the first episode, the way they said Bloodhaven, they said Bloodhaven. Weird. I'm pretty sure it's how you say like German.
Could be purposeful. Could just be, you know, the actor. You never know.
It could be, but
You
also
never know.
James Gunn is very specific on what he does with his work. I wonder if the Germans won World War II and weren't shunned for their beliefs. And this time, like Peacemaker's father, they were kind of praised.
I feel like the world would look a little different. It's very similar to our world, but I think I do agree with you.
There's so many interpretations in media though where the world will look perfect.
For sure, you
but
could
then
be
you
right.
see what wasn't. You know, it just seems like something's off. Like it shouldn't be perfect. He wants to be there. There has to be a factor to push him away from what's really perfect and what goes against his morals. And I guarantee you, he's going to go back and we're going to see it.
I think I think something you are right about in what you're saying is I think the point of this Earth is to eventually for him to realize, you know, he has to accept where he's from, his actual Earth and his actual people. That's definitely, I think, where they're heading with this storyline this season. It will be interesting to see a rug pull to reveal that the Earth is messed up in some sort of way. But as of now, it is said to be very similar. We even do see, like, you saw a sign for the Mighty Crabjoys in today's episode in the alternate Earth, which is also kind of confirming, yes, this is very similar to the world he's coming from. I don't know if that confirms, you know, what you're saying is false, but I think it's interesting that to see stuff that is still connecting to the world provided in Superman, which is very interesting.
The one thing with James Gunn that I do admire because he does it perfectly is especially with Peacemaker and Creature Commandos, right? There's a lot of discrimination in different ways, whether it's against the species or even like he references the neo-Nazis, you know, white supremacists and Peacemaker now. And now that his father isn't hated in the other universe for it, it just seems like, okay, is he a very big activist in this other world? Because everything's supposed to be the same. So if his father's still the same person, but wealthy, he fits in and everything, that's why I think something else happened to make him fit in and not change who he was. And I could be wrong, but I just feel like James Gunn does explore those elements, and he does incorporate to the point where it isn't pushed in your face. I do enjoy when he does it. Like Creature Commandos, I thought the whole thing with G.I. Robot was phenomenal, and I wish we had more of that. But like other directors I think would have done, and other writers, they would have pushed it more in your face. He makes it so it's like, okay, it's known that this is part of the story, but it doesn't oversaturate the story. And that's why I think this is what's going to push Peacemaker to ultimately go back to his dimension.
Well, he's jumbling. You know, he goes back to his dimension at the end of this episode. He's obviously, I'm assuming he's going to go back soon enough.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, you know, the structure for the rest of the season, and also, you know, how he interacts with everyone on the other Earth if they find out about what he did. Because it's very interesting. He just fully goes at other Earth and takes, you know, the other Peacemaker's role, which is very interesting. He obviously slowly learns that they're pretty different. But I thought that was very interesting how they didn't delve much into the fact that, he murdered this other version. That's still going to have to be revealed. I do wonder how slowly or if
that could push him away. His father can catch on. Also, who was diagnosed possibly with cancer? Because I was kind of in and out in that exact moment. I know they said, so he has cancer. Was he talking about his father?
I think it might be his father. It's obviously someone related to him. But obviously in the scene, he has no idea what he's really talking about. So I don't know. I guess that will probably be revealed in the coming weeks. I do I do think it's very interesting how when we got that reveal scene when his brother shows up. I don't know his brother's hero name in this world, but he showed up and
I haven't
his
seen
suit was
it.
pretty cool. He
Yeah.
shows up, and that was kind of the reveal that yes, they do kill because he killed the people in the helicopter. I thought that was interesting because it really is just right now. Yeah, you're right. It's the universe is perfect for him. No one is appalled by his actions. He when he started doing that in the building, the way he was doing it, I totally thought everyone was going to react in a very negative way. But it was interesting how they kind of just played with you there.
Yeah.
And I think that as we've said before, going forward with the multiverse, I think it's very clear they are going the way we've kind of said they were going to go with it, using it as this emotional using it as the emotional kind of just draw of the season. And I think that what we've said with it before is it's not going to have huge ramifications for the entire DC universe. I could be wrong about that because Argus is closing in. I think the storyline they're going through with them post Superman, what happened in that movie. Now they're interested in the technology Peacemaker has. Mm-hmm. That's very interesting because I don't know if the season's going to end with them obtaining that or maybe it gets destroyed. I think that could possibly happen because it could be James Gunn saying yeah, don't worry about it.
Referencing Superman, right? I want to ask you this. A lot. I mean, I think it was James Gunn that said it. I know Screen Throw posted it, but apparently there's going to be some big cameos coming up past episode 3 or 4. I forgot which one it was.
Yeah.
Who do you think? Because there's a theory that everyone says that Judo Master and obviously Argus are failing at getting Peacemaker, and they hire an assassin. And I think obviously Deathstroke is not going to fit it. People think it's him. I think he's a super.
I don't want him just because I don't want him in this tone. I'd rather him be saved for even Teen Titans or something.
Well, not even that. People forget Slade Wilson is a super soldier. The fact that people compare him to Captain America shows what his features and his hacks and everything does dwell into. And same thing with Batman. He's a very darker toned character, and I don't think he would lose to a fight in Peacemaker. My prediction is it's either going to be possibly Copperhead, Deadshot, and I'd like to see KG Beast. And I know those are wild takes, but I just don't see if the rumors and speculations are true that we're going to get another assassin in here. I just don't see it being somebody along Shade or Deathstroke's.
I don't think it'll be one of Batman's known rogues. I feel like they want to save people like that, but maybe I'm wrong. It'd be a good surprise.
KG Beast is known, but
KG Beast is a good pick though. I mean, Deadshot, Deathstroke, the really known ones.
Yeah, but the thing is, Deadshot is not on the same. They're not on the same level as Deathstroke. Deathstroke, I would not want him touching this. And
Deadshot would be interesting too because you'd have to bring it in. Is it Will Smith?
No,
and I don't think James Gunn wants to go in that direction. Mm-hmm. But I would think that it would be interesting if we get all in one season, them introducing, or establishing that Enchantress exists, but also showing a new Deadshot. So kind of also going along with what he's always said. That, I'm going to present to you what my universe is. You're just going to have to kind of use your head and really realize and fill in the blanks a little bit for what has happened in the past. We're going to have to accept it. And I do, honestly. I kind of just realized that, and we have spoken about this, he had to deal with a lot. He was handed a mess. And I think so far he's been doing a good job.
Yeah. Do you think there's going to be any other cameos of characters we haven't gotten? Because the one thing with Peacemaker from season 1 to now is it's always involved with conspiracies, on the side, whether it was his notebook, whether it's this. And I know I always bring him up, but a character I could see on the side, I'm going to be honest with you, was going to be the Question. Just because of the conspiracies with everything going on. I'm seeing it more. I rewatched Creature Commandos actually last week. I rewatched the past 2 episodes before watching this one, and especially season 1 where there's a lot of conspiracy stuff in the background, his book, and I feel like there might be a character, not him, but another lower tier hero that may not be as known that could be involved, make a short cameo just to show out that there's other heroes outside the main Justice League characters we've been giving. Batman we know exists because of Creature Commandos. We've had Superman, Supergirl, Hawkgirl. Green Lantern's confirmed because of Guy Gardner. Mr. Terrific, another big name character. Metamorpho's a smaller scale, but he's still
Yeah.
very well known. So I could see us getting another unwell known character being thrown in.
Did you see the repost? I guess I don't remember the director's name, but whoever directed the Blue Beetle film for DC, he reposted James Gunn talking about that character appearing in this season.
I That'd be cool. I think he just likes the idea of him showing up in Peacemaker. But one thing with Jaime Reyes, right? The movie wasn't good, and hopefully James Gunn rewrites his story but keeps the casting. The casting I
I
thought
like Jolo in the role. I think
I do.
he definitely really likes this character.
Lopez in the DCU. Give me George Lopez in the DC. I'm kidding. But
That movie wasn't the worst DC movie ever made, but yes, it was not good.
it's a miss on the character.
And it came out during a time when they were dropping slop.
Whatever.
Like it's just
Yeah.
the Hamada era of DC, as you want to call it. It wasn't good. It's not remembered fondly, but I do like the idea of Jolo continuing playing this character. I hear there's possibly an animated series in the works. That'd be a great way to kind of just bring him in the DCU because, not gonna lie, I don't think this character warrants a budget right now, especially after how that movie performed.
Yeah.
But I do want to see him again. I think in the small screen, TV shows, animated, perfect place to bring him in. Because he deserves to play him. He does. He brought a lot of care to that character. It's not his fault that there was a lot going on behind the scenes. It didn't help that movie out at all.
He cares about Jaime Reyes, and a lot of
100%.
people understand those that were educated on the character, especially our age group. People not like us, but people that do relate to the character and see him for who he is and what's relatable about him. That matters, especially to the demographic he's a part of. And he's such a fun character. He's got such a cool storyline. Like I would like to see Jason Sudeikis play Ted Kord. I know it's like a big fan cast, but
That'd be cool.
James Gunn putting a teenager in like a TV mature show.
He could really be DC's like Spider-Man. He
really
isn't Spider-Man. Obviously, he's not
isn't
popular of a character, but he is a really cool teenage age
DC
superhero.
Spider-Man is probably going to be Nightwing, realistically, the one that everyone looks.
He's older though. I look at Nightwing as being in his 20s. Like I'm talking about like the kid Spider-Man.
I get it.
That
I'm used to Nightwing and our representation being an older teenager, 17, 18. So that's what I'm used to. But
we can see what they go for, and we also might. Speaking about that just briefly, I guess, because going forward, we're going to have a movie, The Dynamic Duo, where we get Robins teaming up. I think possibly you're right where Nightwing does
Brave
already
and the Bold,
exist.
or you
Brave and the Bold. No, I think it's called Dynamic Duo, actually.
I saw Brave and the Bold, but
Brave and the Bold is Damien's film, and then there's a movie, I think, with Jason and...
Okay, that's what you're talking about. Yeah, Jason
Dick,
and...
maybe, something like that. But there is a lot of Robin content coming. I think that's very interesting. That's a character that I think really needs his limelight in live action.
Robin is one of the best written characters, especially how the mantle's been passed down. Like, it's been phenomenal. You go from Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim
There's
Drake.
no other sidekick character like that. That mantle that, you're right, is passed down to individual characters that each have their own merit to them.
Batman's got some of the best sidekicks, and it's not even close. He has the best sidekicks. You have, Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Jason Todd, Damian Wayne, Carey, Orphan, Signal. Cassandra Cain obviously is Orphan, but some people don't know that. The spoiler, Barbara Gordon, Oracle.
We're right now in an era of at least, and I'm happy about this. They are bringing in finally for audiences to see the Super Family, and I think that's great. In introducing us to because in Superman's first movie we got 3 of them.
Yeah,
I'm sure Superboy's soon to come.
We got the 3 that matter. Oh, Cadmus would be cool in Peacemaker.
That's what I was thinking too.
You know
if
what?
we were doing things like that, we could eventually establish that type storyline through shows like Peacemaker.
I just had an idea. So a lot of people believe that Superman's getting a cameo in Peacemaker, right? Mm-hmm. That's like the biggest conception.
Yeah.
I wonder if Argus is going to have like a file on a table randomly and it's going to say Project Cadmus or something completely random. And not like recently we'll get...
I would really like it. Like, I know Peacemaker's smaller scale.
Movie. There's a Teen Titans movie confirmed. Imagine the Teen Titans movie at the end is Superboy at the bottom of Project Cadmus. Like, James Gunn likes to dwell into DC's lore. He definitely has seen Young Justice. He's definitely dove into Teen Titans and all the issues. I just don't think he's not.
But now that you mentioned Cadmus, we have Cadmus. I think is something that is big in at least Superman's world. And this week we had the announcement that Superman is is going to get a sequel. Man of Tomorrow is coming, which is also very funny. I think
Three movies actually. Don't
I
forget.
think that's hilarious though that we now have Man of Steel and Man of Tomorrow as titles for Superman movies. That's awesome. But I do think Cadmus could be a good place to explore there. But we got a little hint at Lex will be back in his suit, his mech suit. What are your theories? Do you think they'll be teaming up? They'll be fighting the whole movie? I think both. I think there's going to be at least a little portion of them teaming up. That's just my theory.
I think it's going to be Metallo, and Lex helps him, but it goes completely against what he wants to do, and they're going to team up against Metallo. Because I know Superman's not going to be able to fight Metallo, and Lex is going to be in a suit that's going to have to be on par with a hero.
Am I wrong, or does Lex make Metallo sometimes?
He does. He sometimes does make Metallo, and I think that's what's going to happen. He's going to make Metallo in this.
I could be wrong, and I don't know if they're following it. I just know this as a little fact. I think one of maybe the novelization of the movie of Superman or some pre-novel does reference Metallo actually. And I think that it does establish that Superman beat him. I don't know if they're going to keep that as canon, but it is possible that Lex already made him, and that's how he, researched eventually to lead to the Hammer of Baravia, which is also a good third line to lead him to his suit.
Maybe
I think it's a good progression. I think seeing,
Parasite then. I don't know.
There's a lot of villains we could do. I think Brainiac is obviously one that
I don't think
could really do for both of them to go up against because Lex is a great intellectual character.
That is true.
There's a lot of possibilities. I would have to really delve into stories where they have to team up because there's obviously been instances where that's happened. We obviously get the bit in All-Star Superman where he teams up with Clark and stuff, but them teaming up actually is a very interesting thing. I think it's great that James kind of just straight up said or showed us that art to kind of give us a little tease of what's to come. That man does not stop working.
He doesn't, and I respect it because I think he really sees a gold mine with DC stories, and us being fans of both Marvel and DC understand there's a lot of pros to Marvel, and there's a gold mine that has not been struck yet with their stories. And if he continues this and he does, we're getting the Mr. Miracle show, I think that's going to be the hidden gem when it comes out. I think the Mr. Miracle show, if it really is dark themed, I didn't read too much into it because I want to be surprised, but if that really dwells into the new gods, the torture, the Furies, granting goodness, Apocalypse, all of it, that will be the hidden gem of the DCU that we get in the next 3 years.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, actually. We've talked about this a little bit, but it just kind of hit me. With the comparison with DC and how they're releasing stuff, compared to other studios, specifically Marvel, people, will look at something. And I'm not saying Creature Commandos had the highest viewership and stuff, but people really liked it. And I think DC's in a boat right now where they could release something where, say, it's a random title. Say they did release The Authority or something like that. But if it was directed by James Gunn, written by James Gunn, they're in a boat right now where they could release something like that, and people will still line up. But for Marvel, they can't really do that. If they're releasing something that's lesser known or characters that aren't as popular, no one's gonna see that right now. But people are really confident right now in DC after the success of Superman.
Superman did,
and it really shows.
Put it back on the map. I know a lot of people who would refuse to see DC, and when Peacemaker first came out and the Suicide Squad, and I was preaching James Gunn's work, no, I only like his Marvel work, DC's awful, this isn't. I'm sitting here, a DC diehard fan, but I'll admit it sucked. Snyder's I'm not gonna hate on Zack Snyder's takes.
And for the record, we
wasn't
don't
for me.
hate those movies like other people. We enjoyed Snyder's take to some extent, but we can acknowledge that it was not accurate. It's very bizarre, but I enjoyed it for what it was. It just shouldn't have happened. I think we agree on that.
There's a lot of things that we given from different perspectives. We've gotten Batman Samurai, and I'm okay, for what this is, it's enjoyable. It's not my personal take. Even Gotham by Gaslight may not be mine.
You're right, though. I look at Snyder stuff as Elseworlds, like I always did. I don't understand how anyone could debate that it's accurate. It was so inaccurate. It's not DC. It's a version of it, but it's not.
People just want to be so dedicated to the cause, and they're blinded by it. It is what it is, but we're getting off track. A lot of people refuse to see that stuff when I was pushing for it because I'm like, this is good stuff. If James Gunn starts doing more things for DC, it's gonna be over. Takes over DC, and now all those people I know have been watching it. They went to Superman opening night. They watched Peacemaker now. They even watched Creature Commandos, and I didn't think people would touch that show.
It's a testament to James because you're right. I know a lot of people that never touched the DC product. I knew people that didn't even know the origin story to Batman and Superman. It was that crazy. They're watching these things now. They're into DC now. It really shows what Gunn has been able to do with
What
barely any projects so far.
what I really want Gunn to do, because I know at some point we're gonna get Justice League movie, I want him, just because we're on the topic of the future of DC, he does pay homage to those OG fans in some
Yeah,
sort of way. Whether it's, oh yeah, we're gonna talk about Clayface immediately after this
yeah,
because
you got
it's
it.
gonna bridge what I'm gonna say. I want them to redo the Justice League or Justice League Unlimited theme, completely like orchestrated brand new, same exact song, and have that as either the end credit or the opening. And I
He
think
might do it. He
I
genuinely
that is one
knows
thing I would
people like
love
that
to
kind of
see
stuff.
happen just because, and it's the same thing if he did Batman Beyond. I think he just wouldn't change it or he would revamp it in a way. But now going into the influence of the animated series, because he's talked about it before, the Clayface leaks. I can't believe that this is going to be a horror movie and we're going to see the figure we've seen in Creature
Well,
Commandos.
here's also something interesting to point out before we delve into it.
Yeah.
This is the first movie they're producing that, besides the Batman Part 2, that isn't a part of James Gunn's plan. This was a movie that was presented to him that he said, "I like it, let's make it." And I think that's very interesting because he acknowledged that was something that was going to happen, and he's open to people pitching him different ideas for this universe. He thinks it works, and I'm very interesting. It's very interesting. It's gonna be very interesting to see how it's Gotham being introduced before we even know our Batman.
Yeah.
That's very fascinating. I think that's another kind of something that's good for this universe. They can establish Gotham before we've met our Batman. We've already started establishing it in Creature Commandos. We've established it's a terrible place. It's very in line with Gotham. I'm excited to see more of it. You're right. We've got a few leaks this week for on set of Clayface.
And the Batman Part 2 released, what their Gotham PD looks like and now Clayfaces, and they're completely different. So I'm happy
Oh,
that.
so you're saying on set people saw like the logo?
Yeah, they got posts everywhere. It's completely different. I'm happy they're not.
It goes in line with what he said.
That's what
It's not the
matters.
same universe.
That's
It's
what well,
not.
that's what matters to me because so many people are like it is. It's like it's confirmed not. But back to Clayface, DC has great horror elements. That is the one thing I preach every time, whether it's horror in space with the New Gods and Apocalypse, Heaven, Hell, or just the body dysmorphia of some of these characters. Like the way that we're about to see body horror with Clayface, we saw the early stages of how the character is in the animated series with his face getting all warped.
Yeah.
That's in the leaks right now. Wait till we
Are
start.
they definitely going with
That story, yeah.
He can morph into other people like
Yeah,
that?
no,
That's 100%.
100%. This is the same Clayface as the Creature Commandos. It's been confirmed.
Yeah, you're right. We've already seen the character. That's a
It's
good point.
been confirmed. So now, based off what he looks like, imagine what he's going to look like in live action. Now we're going to see a new version of superhero movies and villain movies, for that matter. A lot
Yeah.
of people understand if Venom was rated R and more dark and more horror like instead of comedy, that would have been perfect for the character. Clayface is a character that needs it. I still say a murder villain movie with Professor Pig would be perfect.
Well, I think the
Or
Penguin
Zaz even.
series did so
A
well
murder
because it was a
I
villain
would
show.
or a murder movie following Gotham PD with Victor Zsasz.
That'd be sick.
There's a lot of different characters, not just with Batman, but throughout DC that are just scary in general. Them doing Clayface is perfect because if this is a hit, I think he's going to do side movies for these villains, and it's deserved. A lot of these characters deserve it.
We'll see. I think what's interesting in referencing the Batman coming out, and yeah, you're right. It's a different thing, different universe, and I like that. I think it should stay that way. But it's very interesting how in 2027 we're gonna have the world's finest, Batman and Superman, are both gonna have a movie. As of now, they
Yeah.
both have a movie slated to be released. That's awesome. I mean, DC, that's just such a win for them. I just having that on the slate. We have, we don't know their big end game right now, but people are really happy with the content they're releasing. And that's crazy comparing it to, Marvel that's heading into a giant event that, to be honest, it doesn't really feel that giant. It doesn't have a lot of weight to it. It's even after,
I don't
the
know what
release
Marvel's
of
going to
the
do
movies
after
this year.
that. Like Fantastic Four, I enjoyed. Thunderbolts, I like them both a lot. Do not get me wrong, but it's just almost like the quality fell off to a point where people don't really care for their movies unless you're like us who really care about the brand. A lot of those people just kind of pulled away, like, I don't want to waste my money. I don't waste my time.
It's like you're right, and it's like you're right, but you're also not. Where it's like, at the same time though, like I personally think Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four were were decently strong MCU movies.
Oh,
Like,
I said they were good. No, I said they were good. I was talking about everything else.
but
Though,
it's interesting how they both didn't cross 600 million at the box office, and I think even Superman, it didn't cross 800 million. It's fun. It's interesting, this whole video we're talking about superheroes and stuff, and the genre is very much alive, but it is also still in a very interesting spot.
it's in
Right.
shambles. It's
James Gunn himself, they released Superman very early on digital before Peacemaker came out. He said the reason for that was because he wanted people to be able to see it and, be caught up for Peacemaker if they weren't able to see it in theaters. I don't know if that's fully true. It's tough because I personally don't.
It is.
How do you feel about the release model of getting movies on streaming like 45 days after? Because, Max is one of the biggest streamers that does that. And I think it hurts tremendously. I think that
it does. It definitely hurt how much, with the box office with Superman, but I think it does make sense. A lot of these are referencing Superman and Metropolis. I'm going to be
no. At the same time, you are right because
what about the
Peacemaker
end
really
credit?
connects to it.
Look at the end credit scene that they redid from season 1. I think James Gunn was being honest. I don't think he would lie about something that massive.
No, you're right. I'm not trying to give him heat because at the same time, there's obviously some validity to it. There's some truth there because you're right. It really does connect to it. I just think it's very interesting.
Look at all the references to the movie itself. The Metropolis consistently. We're 3 episodes in. There's been different things being talked.
2 references at least to the events.
More than 2. There's been 1 each episode. Especially when they talk about the anomaly. They keep talking about Lex Luthor. And then on top of it, look at the end credit scene. They changed Supergirl, Mr. Terrific, Superman, Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl. And look at them showing up too. Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl both show up with Maxwell Lord in episode 2. So or episode 1, whatever it was. The whole point is I truly believe he released it on purpose early on streaming. You have to catch people up, especially since a lot of people, Peacemaker started trending again last year. A lot of people are catching up to it. It's got to be done. It had to have been. If Peacemaker was coming out in, let's say, September, October, I think it wouldn't have been released. I think it came out probably September, October, right before the show came out. People could watch and go right into Peacemaker, but he had to time it accordingly, and I think there's a reason he's pushing these projects out, is there's a high right now for DC, and you got to grasp the fans.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say Superman wasn't a success. I think they're very confident in the moment with James and the direction they're going in. I do think that, it's very interesting. I think they're probably really happy with Peacemaker for this fact, because it is the perfect thing that has made people kind of realize his vision for DC and how it does work. Because, it started as a DCEU show, but even James himself has referenced, it didn't really work in that universe at all. It works in this one a lot more. There's some inconsistencies. He acknowledges that, and he's had to change a few things as we've seen. But overall, it does work more in his universe. It never really belonged in the DCEU.
He's sculpting the universe, that's why. And just, it did not make sense for him to be with Cavill Superman, Godot's Wonder Woman. But honestly, I'm very excited to see what next episode's going to be like. I really am. The humor, I think, fits well, but the past 2 episodes have had a lot of seriousness.
I will say, we've talked, in the beginning of this episode, we said, the show is obviously very humorous. Obviously, the tone is just huge shift from Superman, huge shift, even from Creature Commandos. But you're right, it's still been a very emotional season. And I think continuing the storyline with his dad in this way from season 1, it's been really good. It's been a really good use of the multiverse so far. I hope they don't get carried away with it. We've talked about that. I'm really enjoying myself so far with this season. I think even just the interactions with the gang, back on the regular world have been pretty great. I love Vigilante. I think you agree with that.
Yeah,
he's a good gun creation because obviously he's nothing like his comic book counterpart. But I do think he works very well. Adrian Chase is a good character. Good gun character. Yeah. This version of him.
So, continuing the DC talks, I want to move away from this TV show real quick because I don't think a lot of people realized massive cult news, and I'm a part of this cult. I don't know if you saw about the rumors of Teen Titans getting the final season now.
Teen Titans like Teen Titans like the cartoon?
Yeah, I don't know.
You caught me off guard because
I don't know.
Tell me that's happening.
I just remembered that as we were doing the stream, and I texted you the whole list. The voice actors,
I think interesting to point out with cartoons. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think that Gunn is aware of a lot of these projects that people want to be brought back.
And
people want to be renewed or finished, even for the sake of Teen Titans. I think we're going to see a lot of things like that because he has a lot of focus, even on video games. We got the Lego Batman game coming now. Injustice 3 is supposed. That's another thing we can reference. That this past week, some of the voice actors for that game kind of just came out and said, "Yeah, we're working on it."
Yeah,
that's fact. Also, we'll say I don't love that happening without Kevin Conroy, but
yeah,
I did think it was always inevitable. It's going to be very interesting to see who replaces Batman in that franchise, but. I do think it's crazy. I mean, even the new Lego Batman, brand new voice actor for him. I didn't think they'd bring back the original from the 2 and 3, but very interesting voice. They're going for a younger Batman there. It's interesting to see. Gunn is aware. He wants people to be very satisfied on all fronts here. I think it's very possible that Teen Titans could be brought back.
Well, the voice actors had a panel. I didn't watch the video purposely because I want to see an announcement for this. I don't want to get my hopes up, but all these comment sections are saying like, "Hey." The voice actors are kind of rumoring it.
Hey, they're available. They're always recording for Teen Titans Go, so I think they're always available.
But the thing is, though, based off what it was, they showed a video and said who's ready or who's excited or who wants Teen Titans Season 6, and they go to the entire panel, and it's filled. It was insane how many people were there. But in the comment section, people said, why are they referencing it? And now Young Justice, the other day, I think it was, a week and a half ago, where they were talking about Never Say Never. They said they haven't been greenlit for it, but they want to do the last season. And
I do hope that is finished as well.
Craziest cliffhanger I've ever had on a DC show. I think
HBO, what were your thoughts on, HBO with those seasons? They were okay. I mean, they weren't 1 to 2, but they were still very strong. I think you're right. They ended on a huge cliffhanger that needs to be continued. Just one more season. Just finish it up, Give it multiple seasons, that'd be great. But you're right. I think just seeing all these projects, it's just the future is bright. And we've said this, weekly talking about DC. It's great to see this. And people are really loving what Gunn is doing. But also just there's respect for these characters again. Mm-hmm. I think it would be interesting to see Injustice 3 come out now, especially that including an evil Superman. But I'm happy people know who that character is again. We can do things like this again. Mm-hmm. He was easily established how people can perceive Elseworlds. We know Batman 2 is a separate thing. He's already done exactly what he needs to do. He just needs to keep releasing this quality content, and people keep supporting it. At least for now. We'll see where this genre is at in 5 years. It's going to be interesting to see DC Studios more than 5 years in.
It is. It's going to be weird to see consistency because as of right now, it's been
We're in phase 1 era right now. Phase 1 vibes. I'm comparing it again to the MCU, but I think once we're 10 movies deep into this franchise, it's going to be very interesting to reflect it and compare it to, Marvel's beginning.
Yeah, it is.
You can't not when, they just changed the industry, the game, like the interest in franchises. It's very interesting.
Speaking of the future, what is your most anticipated project? We have a bunch announced already. I really want to know.
Just from DC Studios?
Yeah, from what Gunn's got greenlit and what's announced. Mine's going to be Lanterns.
Yeah, we haven't even referenced that. I think I'm excited that they're pushing more with the HBO stuff because what we've gotten so far, Penguin and Peacemaker, high quality.
Yeah.
Completely just another bar from
Penguin. People
Disney
think
Plus
top
show.
3. People think Penguin's a top 3 superhero show, which I could say it's not my. Top
I definitely
3.
wouldn't. I could definitely see why they'd say that.
I could 100%. It's not my top 3, but I understand it completely.
HBO's DC series have been immaculate. Just very. I'm also a supporter of the Watchmen series. I know some people don't love it, but I thought it was great. David Lindelof did a great job with that. That's unrelated, though. I think going forward for the DCU, what I'm most anticipated for would probably be Man of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think that's also really just seeing a Superman sequel just announced was just so. It's a very hype moment because we've been, as someone who even loved this character back in 2013 when Cavill started, really wanted that character to continue as well. We needed Superman as a character to be at the forefront, and I'm happy he's back. I'm very excited that they're moving along. It's great to see, a sequel come out. I'm hoping this doesn't divert the quality at all, but it's coming out 2 years after the first one came out. Very good timetable there. That's like we said earlier in this video, James Gunn just be working. And Supergirl, as we get in between it, and I'm sure some characters from that will show up in Superman, as, Supergirl showed up in his movie. I feel like he'll be in that too. And I think he could be in Peacemaker as well. I think it's very good to establish him first. I think that's great. I think it was honestly it didn't need to be that, man. I think you agree. I give him some time and let Pattinson do his thing. We know he exists in this world. I think by the time we see him and the league is actually ready to be formed, I think James will know when it's time.
I cannot wait to see the Watchtower with not just the original 7, but oh my god, like a loaded Watchtower with just random characters like the Shining Knight, Vigilante, Edric, like whoever walking through there, Fire, Ice, Hawk, Duff, whoever's walking through there. I would love to see how James Gunn's really going to do this universe, because the one thing I've seen with him, he loves to juggle everything at once, and he always makes it work. And I would love to see just little stuff in the background, like little background characters. Like not everyone has to have an interaction, like Justice League Unlimited. If when we get to that point though, but
that's a little way down the line. But I do agree with you. I think even he's aware of it right now. There's a lot of characters that he could show, and you might not even really fully delve into. It's a very vast universe. We saw it in Superman. A lot of superheroes already exist. And I like that. I think it's very cool. And I like also just them referencing things. Kind of just like how you did in Peacemaker Season 1. That's why it didn't work in the DCU at all, because they reference things from the vast DC universe.
Yeah,
there's a lot. That's another thing that he's going to have to be, a little careful going forward. Just the amount that people do know. And he's acknowledged that himself. He knows that some of the things you heard in Season 1 might not be fully
Polka Dot Man's mother worked for Star Labs. That's a massive reference. There, like I just realize that right now.
That stuff definitely exists. I like how he reveals that. Like brands and organizations, they're all very much there. I like that. I think it makes it feel more fleshed out. But that's also very interesting with Argus too. I'm very interested to see how they continue to portray Argus individually. Yeah. But I will say, I'm excited to see if Waller returns, if Enchantress returns. I think that it leaves the door open to see more characters that we've seen before.
People think an assassin's going to show up. I wonder if it's really just going to be her then.
It could be. It could be her employed by Argus, but also she also has the split personalities in a way. So it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they even reference or we see that character. I just think it's very fascinating that they referenced her at all. They didn't need to do that.
I had to rewind it.
It caught me off guard because we're referencing things from David Ayer's Suicide Squad, which is just. But even it's interesting when James Gunn was making.
She dies.
Yeah, maybe she did, but I think what's interesting is that she does.
She dies, so he just retconned an entire movie in a TV show.
I believe probably in the Ayer cut, she probably may have survived. Maybe she didn't, but that's kind of irrelevant either. I think this is his way of showing that yes, certain things did happen, but not the way in which you remembered.
He frees June at the end. I completely forgot all this, but I'm sorry to cut you off. This is massive, especially since this was a big topic we discussed earlier in the pod. So he's gonna say she's the relationship she had with Flag, it existed, but Suicide Squad 1 didn't happen at all. So Task Force X, when he says Harley Quinn and in the Suicide Squad, he references that they've worked together before. So I wonder if he's completely just erasing this, because if he's going to Corto Maltese and Enchantress is still alive at that time, those don't line up with the Suicide Squad and Suicide Squad 1. So he just completely retconned the movie, which is beautiful because that movie was dog water and really affected the characters. So Killer Croc and all these characters may not even exist, or they're going to look completely different now, that is massive for us. That is massive for the universe.
Yeah, I think, it's his way of easily showing us like how it does sort of connect in a way. It's just, you're just going to have to accept it. And I think, you're right. You're saying, it confirms that the events didn't happen, but to some extent, I think they did. And I think it would be interesting to explore that in some way. But you're right. I think the majority can't, Jared Leto and everything that happened there. It just doesn't really make sense.
James Gunn would not be happy to make that his Joker. We both know that.
100%. Obviously, I think we can confirm here Jared Leto is not going to be the Joker.
Thank God. Keep him as
I can't fully say that confidently, but I don't think so.
keep him as Morbius, please.
We don't even know if Margot will be back yet. That's not, confirmed.
Yeah, there's rumors of it being recasted, but we'll just have to wait and see. That could be a whole another rabbit hole of you and I going down that I don't think we should go down the rabbit hole.
But yeah, I think before we wrap up, I just will say I'm very excited to see where they take this every storyline right now. I'd even say, bringing it back on Harcourt this week. I wasn't as annoyed with where that storyline was going. I think everything was really strong this week. This is personally my favorite episode so far of season 2. I don't know if you agree, but I think that
No,
it's very fun.
This is my favorite episode. So actually, no, episode 2 is my favorite. I'm sorry to disagree. Yeah. Episode 2 is my favorite.
John Cena's been killing it though, emotion-wise. The scenes that he's had, with his family members, both for these last 2 episodes, incredible. He's been doing a great job this season. I'm very excited to see that continue. Obviously, this is just a more emotional season, and I'm all for it. I think it's great, and it's still obviously keeping it. It's very funny. It's still Peacemaker, so I'm very excited to see where they take it. But till next time, this has been great. Later, everyone.